Well, welcome everyone. My name is John Brenneman, and I'm the president here at MOAA Vacations. And today we're joined by an old friend of ours, Bob Salmon, currently with Victory Cruise Lines. Before I turn it over to Bob, Bob's going to tell us all the exciting news about the rebirth of Victory. Kind of go through what they're about, kind of show you the ships, and then, as I'm sure most of you know, from either the email or the newsletter. We do have a couple of groups set up for 2025. That's when Victory is going to start sailing, two separate itineraries. We're going to go through those as well. Fantastic opportunity to join us on a Great Lakes cruise. But before I turn it over to Bob, I wanted to talk real quick just about MOAA Vacations. It looked like most everybody who signed up for this webinar has been on one previously. But Bob, if you jump to the next slide, real quick, the kind of the four things that we talk about that kind of set us apart from other agencies would be, of course, our superior level of service. We are and continue to be the only cruise line in the country that offers travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. And what that simply means, if you have any issues, concerns, problems, either before or during your cruise, you reach out to MOAA Vacations. You will talk to me in most cases. If not myself, for example, I'll be on vacation in a couple of weeks. You'll talk to our VP here, Mike Tyrell. So you go immediately to the top, and then Mike and I use our contacts with Bob and other cruise line executives to get the matter resolved to your satisfaction very quickly. We do have a lowest price guarantee. In addition to that lowest price guarantee, we do have a free amenity program. These are the MOAA exclusive amenities. This is things that vendors offer you in recognition of your past and continued service. I'm pleased to say that Victory is participating in this. So if you saw the information, you know that if you book any Victory cruise, be it one of our groups we have in 2025 or just a individual sailing in 2025, 26, and going on into the future, there is a MOAA exclusive amenity, and that is $100 per person onboard credit. So Victory is recognizing your past and continued service, which is important to us. And then the last thing we have is group opportunities, and that's the opportunity to travel with your fellow group members from all across the country, both your local chapter if you belong to one, but since we do this on a national basis, you'll end up meeting and traveling with MOAA members from one end of the country to the other. We have worked with Bob before, for those who don't know, and Bob might touch on this briefly, but Bob previously was with American Queen Steamboat Company back in 2019, 2020, I guess 2020, 2021, when we set up the MOAA Signature Group on the Mississippi River. For those of you who have a great memory, might remember Bob and I did the very first webinar that I did. I didn't do any pre-COVID. So the first one I ever did is I flew down to Mississippi, and Bob and I sat in the chart room, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
and did a live webinar from the American Countess, the ship that Mississippi River was on. So I feel like it's full circle. It's the first webinar I ever did, and now Bob is back. So we're great to have him. He is a great friend of MOAA Vacations and a great friend to MOAA members. So we're very excited about working with him and his team again. So without any further ado, we are recording this as we always do. So you will receive an email with a copy of this video. If Bob says anything or if I say anything of interest to you, we started right at the top of the hour. So a little hint, just kind of look at your phone or your watch or wall clock or whatever. And if Bob says something, say 35 minutes after the hour, then when you get a copy of the video, you can just fast forward to that point if you don't want to watch through the first 35 again. And then the other thing we always want to mention is the fact that you're invited to bring friends and family along. Obviously, if you go on your own, you are, but to any MOAA group we do as well. If you have neighbors, family members, friends, or whatever that would make your vacation more enjoyable, that you want to share this Great Lakes experience with, absolutely invite them to come along. Feel free to share the webinar with them. Everything that we offer MOAA members, the satisfaction guarantee, the guaranteed lowest price, the free amenities apply to both MOAA members and anyone traveling with MOAA members. So if you bring people along with you on a Great Lakes cruise, not only do you receive $100 per person onboard credit, but so do the people you bring along. And then we are going to do a Q&A, as we always do on these webinars after Bob's presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and then when Bob's done with his presentation, Bob and I will answer all of your questions. For those who haven't asked a question before, if you put your cursor, your mouse down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little menu. You'll see 2 conversation bubbles that says Q&A underneath it. That's where you just go in and type in your question. So you can type them in anytime during the presentation. But as I said, we will actually have dedicated Q&A time after Bob is done talking about the group cruises. So Bob, take it away. Tell us about Victory.
Thanks, John. It's great to see you. Not see you. It's great to be able to talk to you today. I think it was actually in 2021, in March of 2021, where John and I sat on the American Countess and presented our Mississippi cruise to you all. And so I'm honored to be back and talking to you again. Thank you so much for your service. And I look forward to welcoming you on board one of the 2 groups, or if you decide to cruise alone or on your own, then certainly welcome you aboard then as well. So let's talk about Victory Cruises. So we only cruise the Great Lakes. Other than getting into the Great Lakes from Portland into Toronto, or getting out of the Great Lakes at the end of the season, all we do with the Great Lakes. We have 37 cruise dates in 2025 and 2026. Of those 37, 31 of them hit all 5 lakes. So they're bucket list cruises. So we're very excited about being able to provide that experience to you in 2025. It's all about discovering beyond. It's one thing to get on the vessel and explore the lakes and hit all 5 lakes, but it's another thing to be able to visit those important cities along the way. And we'll spend time talking about what we do in each one of those great stops that we have on our cruise. We're all inclusive, just like, when you cruise with us on the American Queen back in 2022, I believe. We're all about providing an inclusive experience. So I'm going to kind of wander through, what we do include. So we have included a pre-night cruise hotel. So in one of the cruises that we're offering, Toronto to Chicago, we'll have a pre-cruise hotel night in Toronto the day before embarkation on the vessel. And then we have a Chicago to Montreal cruise, where we'd have a pre-cruise hotel in Chicago. That happens to be, when we do Chicago, we happen to operate at a Navy pier, so right in town. So very exciting there. We include short excursions, and I'll spend a little bit of time on that in a couple of minutes. Unlimited beverages, cocktails, beer, wine, specialty coffees. I mean, if there's a premium alcohol that you prefer over our choice brands, then there is a charge for that. But for the most part, and I think you probably experienced this in 22, it's hard to find an alcoholic drink that isn't included in our complete package. Obviously, we have open bars and lounges, probably not at breakfast time, but certainly throughout the day to enjoy a cocktail or 2. Meals, we know, are very important to everyone, and so we make sure that we provide a menu, particularly at dinner, that is regionally influenced, while we're also offering things like freshly prepared lobster every night, if that's what you're interested in. And probably most important to me is that we still have a soft serve ice cream machine on board. That was always my favorite place to go on the American Queen vessels. But again, meals are extremely important. All ocean view staterooms, we don't see the ocean. I didn't like the all lake view tags, so we still call them ocean view, but they're all water view staterooms. Unlimited Wi-Fi. We do have a Lake Lorien on board, just like we had River Loriens on the American Countess when you sailed with us. These folks are knowledgeable about the area. We do bring on some step-on folks that know more about specific areas like Escanaba and some other locations as we cruise along. And then obviously at the evening after dinner, we have, our onboard entertainment. And typically it's not as big as what was on the American Countess. It's more of a combo, a 3-person combo that provides music and song that you can dance to, sing along, or just sit back and relax and enjoy. Talking about shore excursions, probably the 4 most important shore excursions that we include. And on most of the cruises, we include about 6, depending on how many stops we make. But the most important ones, certainly in my mind, are in Detroit, the Henry Ford Museum, an incredible museum. If you haven't seen it, it's really worth spending some time in. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland is also included. When we get to Mackinac Island, since there are no motorized vehicles, we use carriages, and we may go up to the Grand Hotel, which is the big hotel for this big resort town. And for those of you that want to experience the Niagara Falls from the bottom of the falls with all the spray, we have the Canadian version of Made of the Mist, which is an exciting way to experience the mist of what is Niagara Falls. But there are also other ways, a little bit drier ways to see Niagara if that's what you want to see. We spend about 10 to 12 hours in each port. So in addition to the shore excursions that we include, there are obviously other opportunities for you to explore on your own, or look at some of our other, you can use your onboard credit to purchase a premium shore excursion to another venue. We are small ships. 190 passengers, 90 crew. These vessels were built for coastal cruising. They're actually the more intimate vessels that are on the Great Lakes with only 190 passengers. So nice, easy to get around, very close, very intimate setting for everyone, particularly in our lounge and in our tavern. We're a home away from home. Obviously, we provide the amenities that you would expect in your cabin, your stateroom. I think for the most part, our cabin sizes are about 150 square feet, depending on the category, but doesn't range too far afield from 150. The owner suites are a little bit larger, around 330, 340 square feet. And we've got a few, what we call our A cabins, that are 185. But for all intents and purposes, these cabins are small, all outside staterooms. As you can see, they look very similar. The kind of the one to the left, at least my left, is the owner's suite, but very accommodating, very comfortable, and certainly have the things in the room that you all might need for your cruise. We have public spaces where you can come and relax and enjoy each other's company, a cocktail, or have a meal. Our main dining room is the coastal dining room. You can either make a reservation, or you can just be a walk-in. The dining times are for breakfast about 6 to 9 in the morning, lunch 11 to 2, and dinner is 7 to 9. Plenty of opportunities to sit with others, or there's also places where you can sit by yourself. The grill is our second dining facility, a lot smaller, probably handles about 40 people. It's at the stern part of the vessel. nice outside windows to see where we are on the cruise that day. Again, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, same time frame. For dinner, we would recommend, because we only have 50 seatings for 40 to 50 people, we would recommend you make a reservation. And you can do that on board. There's no reason to have to do that in advance. You'll be able to, as you get closer to the cruise, to make some reservations. But again, you have the opportunity to do that while you're on board. Tavern, my favorite place on the boat. Nice little intimate setting as well. I think I can seat about 50 people in the tavern. Open throughout the day. Great place to come after your shore excursions, before or after dinner, before the show. The Compass Lounge, similar to the Countess and the space that we had available for lectures. So we'll have our afternoon lectures from our Lake Lorien. I'm so used to saying River Lorien, I apologize. Our Lake Lorien, and then in the evening we'll have entertainment, but also a good place just to kind of relax and hang out after or before your shore excursions. As I said, other than going from Portland to Toronto and Toronto back to Portland to get in and out of the lakes, we're on the Great Lakes from late April through mid-October. So perfect time to be cruising. So we have two cruises that are group cruises for the MOAA guests. Our first is Toronto to Chicago. It's all 5 lakes. So we do the bucket list Great Lakes cruise. So we embark when we have our pre-cruise hotel in Toronto the night before the embarkation. This cruise embarks on June 20th of 2025. We go from Toronto to Niagara Falls, our first stop. So we actually pass through the Welland Canal early that morning in order to get to Port Colborne, where we motor coach over to Niagara Falls. And again, in Niagara Falls, there are many ways to enjoy the falls, from far above or down below on one of our Maid of the Mist or Canadian versions of Maid of the Mist cruises. And again, just as a reminder, we're in port and for somewhere between 10 to 12 hours each time in each port. Niagara, we've got, I think it's about a 45-minute motor coach from Port Colborne over to Niagara. But other than that, we've got plenty of time to spend in Niagara. And we're on the Canadian side, which is where all the shops and everything really are. From Niagara Falls, we cruise Lake Erie down to Cleveland. We spend again about 12 hours in Cleveland. Our most important shore excursion is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is a lot of fun to visit. But then there's other opportunities to explore on your own or visit some of the other attractions that we will have offered as premium shore excursions. From there, we cruise again Lake Erie over to Lake Huron to get to Detroit, Motor City. Here we'll visit the Henry Ford Museum, which is probably about 45 minutes from where we dock downtown. We actually dock right near the GM complex, the General Motors complex. Again, a lot of other things to do in town beyond that, but I spent 2 trips at the Ford Museum and couldn't get enough. It really is. It's a great museum. Then we cruise Lake Huron for the next day until we get to Sault Ste. Marie, which is where the locks are to get into Lake Superior. There's a 20-foot difference between Lake Superior and Lake Huron. And so we go through the locks there to get into Lake Superior. Honestly, we spend, a little bit of time in Lake Superior just to kind of get a feel for that area. We're not really doing much of anything, but it's part of the 5 lakes. So you cross it off your bucket list of hitting all 5 lakes. We go back and we spend time at Sault Ste. Marie on the Canadian side of the locks, and there you can go visit the Bush Plane Museum or other attractions there. From there, we go to Mackinac Island, which is kind of the resort community for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Beautiful area, as I think I mentioned earlier. No motor cars, so we go from Motor City to no motorized vehicles at all on Mackinac Island. Fun place to walk around, ride the carriage, do the shops, go to Grand Hotel. And then we from there go to Escanaba, Michigan, which is a small town of about 12,000 people. Originally was an area for the Algonquin tribes. The American and Europeans settled there in the late 1860s. So nice little town to visit. A lot of history around the tribes that resided in that area for so many generations. From there, we cruise Lake Michigan, which is a beautiful lake to cruise. And then we disembark at Navy Pier on June 29th, I believe is the date. Yes, June 29th. So great cruise, all 5 lakes, 9 nights on board, 1 night pre-cruise hotel in Toronto. Whoops, sorry. The other group opportunity is going from Chicago to Montreal. This is a little bit longer, 11 nights, including or 11 nights with on the cruise, and another pre-cruise hotel night. So I'll have a pre-cruise hotel night in Chicago. We're looking at a hotel that's going to be right by Navy Pier, so it's easy access if you want to shop around Navy Pier, or you want to go down to Michigan Avenue, do some shopping before. But great little 4-star hotel in Chicago prior to our cruise. Then if you don't walk to the vessel, we'll obviously motor coach it to the vessel at Navy Pier. One of the things I meant to mention was that, on board or in the hotels, we also include the breakfast in the morning of embarkation. That's included. And then we make sure that once you've got your bags packed and out and ready to go, we'll pick those bags up and get them to the vessel, so you don't have to worry about taking care of your luggage. It'll be on the vessel in your cabin when you go to the vessel on embarkation day. So similar cruise, just in a kind of a reverse order. We'll hit Escanaba again. We'll do a little bit of Mackinac Island and get into Sault Ste. Marie, up into Lake Superior. Again, sailing Lake Huron, in Detroit for the Henry Ford Museum, in Cleveland for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Niagara Falls for whatever you want to do in Niagara Falls. The Maid of the Mist, at least the Canadian version, is available for your pleasure in Niagara. Then we'll spend a night in Toronto. So we'll get this. I was just in Toronto about 2 weeks ago. Great city, really clean, really a lot to see in Toronto, beyond the CN Tower. In fact, one of the hotels that we're looking at is right by, the CN Tower and other attractions. From there, we'll cruise Lake Ontario, and then up the Gulf of St. Lawrence up to Montreal for a disembarkation in Montreal. So very similar to the Toronto to Chicago, except for in reverse, where you get that pre-night in Chicago. But you got the opportunity for 2 additional nights, one in Toronto and one actually in Toronto as part of the cruise package, and then the cruise up to Montreal. Both of our vessels are identical in size and cabins and everything. You will be on Victory 1 on both of these itineraries. And in reality, Victory 2 does similar itineraries than the Victory 1 does. It does the Chicago to Toronto. It doesn't do the Chicago to Montreal. It's only on Victory 1. The Chicago to Montreal, we only do 3 times a year. So it's a real exclusive experience. For all intents and purposes, the cabin categories are allocated by deck because there's very little differences in the cabin size. The one difference is the deck 3, where we actually have the owner suites and a couple of other of the A cabins, and the deck 4, where the AAA cabins are, those are exterior entry. So you're actually enter your cabin from the outside. So you'll have a couple of chairs on the outside that you can sit at and watch the lakes go by. And then finally, just a little bit more detail. These are the different cabin categories we have. Again, for the most part, the cabins are very similar in size and appointments. The big difference being those cabins on deck 4, which is those double A's, have outside access with a couple of chairs on the outside where you can sit and watch the world go by. John, I don't know whether you wanted to share anything, but I really appreciate the opportunity. I will definitely be there for the boarding of these 2 cruises to welcome you on board. I thank you for the time, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Yeah, before we kind of get into the Q&A, just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. First off is in the email that you received to invite you to this, or the newsletter, the August newsletter, the itinerary for the September 27th departure, if I'm remembering correctly, with the pre-night hotel on the 26th, has changed. So Bob talked about that. So that is now Chicago to Montreal. I didn't know, Bob, if you wanted to talk a little bit, for those who don't know, the fact that you just opened up for bookings 4 days ago. So obviously, since we had, and I don't mean August newsletter, that's the one I'm working on now, July newsletter. So obviously, talked to Bob a couple of months ago. We started putting this together, and it's referenced in the newsletter, and I think in the invitation to this webinar as well, is since we went in and grabbed this group space actually a couple of months before they even opened for reservations, that's why we were able to get the rates we were. We basically have we have $1,200 off per person on both the groups for any of the cabin categories you choose. And then I, of course, mentioned already the $100 per person shipboard credit, but that is that MOAA exclusive amenity that will apply to any sailing. But Bob, did you want to talk before we get to Q&A a little bit about how we got to Victory opening up 4 days ago, and just kind of a history of your involvement on where the ships came from and your past history with Victory 1 and 2 and where we are going forward? I think people will find that of interest.
Yeah, sure. So John Wagner, who founded American Queen back in 2011 and really brought river cruising back to the US, operated American Queen up through really 2020, 2021. And then we kind of took a step back. I retired. John went off and did other things. And when the opportunity arose to get back into the cruise industry, John saw a great opportunity with Great Lakes with the 2 Victory boats. There are 2 boats that American Queen had purchased back in January 1st of 2019, and we operated them for a short period of time. But he viewed it as a great opportunity because he saw that the Great Lakes were right in our backyard, but we're kind of underserved, and particularly doing the 5-lake cruise. So we built the itineraries. So he purchased the boats on May 8th. So between May 8th and today, we've been running 90 to nothing to get our program together. And there's still parts of it that we still haven't finalized. There's still some premium shore excursions that we haven't finalized. There's some inclusions in Escanaba and Mackinac Island that we haven't finalized. Um, we know what we've identified 3 pre-cruise hotels that are all 4-star hotels in each one of the markets, and we're finalizing those. But we've been running 90 to nothing. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, because of the relationship we had with John and the experience we had with MOAA back in 2021 when we met on board the Countess and then cruise, I think, in 2022. I reached out to John very early on and started the conversation about, here's what we're going to do, the same quality, the same experiences that we provided our guests in the past on American Queen are things that we're going to continue to do and try and do better on the Victory cruises. So this past Monday, we opened reservations and started getting our reservations. We don't have a website up yet. It's supposed to be up tomorrow. That's what marketing tells me. So I'm excited to see that. And obviously, it'll be a work in progress, but we're really excited about it. We're excited to be working with John again and the MOAA group. It was a great experience once before, and we expect to deliver an even better experience in 2025.
Yeah, and I think for those who might know, because I mean, we obviously worked with American Queen. American Queen was purchased by Hornblower, and then for those who saw that American Queen went bankrupt, that was actually Hornblower who owned American Queen that went bankrupt. And so when Hornblower went bankrupt, they started selling off their assets, which included the Mississippi River and the Columbia River ships, which were purchased by American Cruise Line. And then, as Bob mentioned, John Wagoneer saw it as an opportunity and went in and bid at the auction and purchased these 2 ships. And so basically, I can tell you that, travel is a relationship business. I mean, Bob reached out to me when they were, back in May, and we put this together. And a lot of the people that are working at Victory are people that we already know. Or when I say we, I mean people here at MOAA Vacations already know, because they're bringing in all the great staff they had at American Queen when they ran it. So we're kind of going in early. As Bob said, the website's not even going to be up till tomorrow. We went and held group space while they're still finalizing itineraries. But what that means for you is that's why we were able to go in and get such a large discount of $1,200 per person. When we do the groups in 2026, we'll probably still have a discount. I don't know if it'll be that rich. We'll certainly press for it. But that's part of the thing you get when you go in when they're in the development process and making a commitment to holding and blocking this space, is we're able to get those rates. So hopefully those dates work for you, because outside the group dates, we do not have a discount other than the MOAA amenity. Okay. And then Bob, as I kind of mentioned before we got started, somebody asked about single supplements. So
Yep.
Can you talk about single supplements?
Yeah. So it's always a sore subject, but we don't have any single cabins. So all our cabins are doubles, whether they're queen or two twins. So a single supplement is 175% of the cruise fare for a normal single person double occupancy. So it's 175%.
And as a lot of our solo travelers will know, that's actually not as high as a lot of them are. Most river cruise lines are going to be a 200% single occupancy. Now, the one thing we can offer on the group departures, if you're a solo traveler and want to avoid that 75% or 175% single supplement, when you call us or email us, let us know that you're looking, and we can look to do roommate shares where we'll find you a roommate. We've done it in the past. We've done it since our very first signature group that we did back in 2019. And we actually have a couple of solo travelers, or we have instances where we put two solo travelers together and they have continued to travel together each year after that, because solo travel is not a one-time thing. If you're a solo traveler, it's not just the Great Lakes cruise that you're traveling solo. It is basically any cruise or tour that you take. So if you're interested in that, on one of the group departures, if you're interested in going, um, just to be clear, we put solo female and solo male travelers together. And as I said, all we do is if you want to go as a solo and there's another, let's say, surviving spouse, either male or female, same sex as yours, that wants to go, we just put you in contact. You guys can talk. We've had great success with this. We do it almost every group, for sure. Every signature group we do, we have people that we pair up. So it's just something to keep in mind. The next question that we had is somebody asked about passport requirements with shore excursions in Canada. Do they need a U.S. passport?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, because we're, obviously we're either embarking or disembarking
yeah,
to foreign port.
Canada.
These
So
are
you're
two,
going to need it for your flight in or
yeah,
your flight home.
yeah. These two vessels are foreign flag vessels. Just as a way of background, these vessels were built in the United States and were obviously U.S. flagged back when they were built. They were foreign flagged several years ago. And so what does that mean? That means that we have to hit foreign ports. And so it's either Toronto or we'll do Sault Ste. Marie in Canada as well. But where was I going with that? Yeah, so you need a passport.
Yes. Okay. Somebody asked for the date on the second cruise. The cruise is actually September 27th through October 8th of 2025.
Yeah.
But there is that one night pre-cruise hotel. So the cruise tour or the vacation, or however you want to say it, starts on September 26th.
Yep.
Okay. What about St. Lawrence Seaway out to Marine Provinces to Portland, Maine?
Yeah, so we have three cruises next year. One goes from Portland to Toronto in mid-April, which would obviously go around Nova Scotia and down the Maritimes into Toronto. The other two are, one is a Montreal to Portland, and I believe that's in October. And then we have a Toronto to Portland that I believe is late September. So those three cruises are certainly available. In fact, we are promoting the first cruise, the Portland to Toronto, in mid-April of 2025 as our reunion cruise. John Wagner, his wife Claudette, and some of the talent that we had on board the American Queen boats will be on board that cruise. And it's a great cruise. I mean, going around Nova Scotia that whole area is beautiful. Just the weather can be a little iffy in October coming back to be nice.
As it seems to be about everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, somebody said cover the pricing. On the 9-night, the pricing starts at $6,099 per person. And then on the 11-night, the one in September, it's $6,799 per person. So that would be for the lead-in category. Best bet would be to send an email or give us a call, talk to an agent, kind of figure out which cabin or cabin categories you're looking at, and they can get you pricing for either cruise for the cabin category or categories you're looking at. Same person, I think, asked about shore excursions being included. Shore excursions are included. They will have premium shore excursions, which will be available for additional charge. Bob, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so we will have premium, and I'm being told we're going to have immersive shore excursions, and I don't know what that means at this point. They're still working on it. But again, with the onboard credit that you have, you can use it for shore excursions. We have a spa on board. I forgot to mention that. We have a little spa on board, so you could use it for that. You could also use it for if you wanted to, upgrade to the premium beverage package. Again, my impression is that for the most part, you don't need to. And then the other thing is a gift shop, but you can certainly use your your onboard credit for a premium shore excursion.
Yes. Uh, since we're talking about using the onboard credit, is there a gift shop on board?
There will be a display
Okay.
of gift shop items, but I think the plan at this point is that you can see what you like, purchase it, and then we'll ship it to your home.
Gotcha. One of the when we were on the American Countess, so it's similar kind of thing. And I'll just touch on two things real quick. On the beverages, it was like you could get Johnny Walker Red or Johnny Walker Black. That was included, but if you wanted like a Johnny Walker Blue, there was an additional cost. I remember they had just like one tequila, which was I think Cuervo in 1942 and Johnny Walker Blue. And so like the ultra, I guess they call them ultra premium beverages. Those are the ones. They had a couple of scotches that were kind of in that as well. So, but most everything's included. The reason I asked about the gift shop is everybody, when we did the Mississippi River cruise, had a onboard credit, and we had people basically saying there was nothing to spend it on. And so they didn't want to get bottled wine at dinner. They didn't want to buy a premium liquor. They didn't want to do an upgraded shore excursion and everything. So the complaint, I guess, for lack of a better word, was there was a gift shop and they go, all they really have is logo sweatshirts and stuff like that. Not really sure exactly what people were looking for, but there will be opportunities there are some things that are an additional charge, but keep in mind, you're each going to have $100 onboard credit. So if one day you decide you want to do a premium excursion, then you have $100 a person to go towards that. Or if one night to celebrate, you wanted a nice bottle of champagne or a nice bottle of wine, obviously for $200, you can get a really, really nice bottle of wine. So kind of trying to make this all inclusive. There are a couple of things that have an additional charge, but that's what that $200 is for. A couple of questions asking about the ships. Somebody asked when they were built. I thought you just covered that a couple of minutes ago, but can you once again, real quick, kind of go when the ships were built? And
Sure. 2005. Is when they
2005,
were built.
okay. And
Yeah.
are you guys in the process of refurbishing them now before you enter service in
Yes.
2025? Okay.
Yes.
I assumed as much. I just wanted to make sure because somebody asked when they were last refurbished, and I thought they were being refurbished as we speak. So
Right. Yeah. So, well, we'll start in September actually,
okay, well,
but plenty of time before we start cruising in April. So, so yeah, we updated these vessels quite often when we own them as American Queen. In fact, we did all new decking a few years ago, or not a few years ago, a couple of years ago. For we can't change the cabin size, obviously, but everything else in terms of carpet, wall coverings, drapes, bedding, all those things are being completely refurbished or refreshed.
yep. I mean, that's typically what a refurbishment is. It's rare that, yeah, they'll actually make structural changes, although
Yeah.
we've all been around enough to see the crazy things where they cut a ship in half, float it apart, and put a new section in the middle. It's like, I guess that's the most economical way. Who knows? The crazy things we see in this industry. Somebody asked about, do we have the entire ship for Victory 1? No, the groups we're doing with Victory, we are just holding an allocation of cabins. When we talk about the signature groups, which is what the Mississippi River was, I'm pretty sure it was in 2021. It's the first cruise we did coming out of COVID because the ship, it was the first year the Countess came back. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But in 2021, for the Countess, we had the whole ship. If you see the signature groups, those are the ones where we grabbed the whole ship. So if I remember correctly, we're holding a dozen or 15 cabins, something like that on both of these departures.
I believe it's 15, yes.
15, okay.
Yeah.
So we're holding 15 staterooms, but I can tell you, having worked with Bob and the group people, Sherry used to do groups with American Queen and that kind of stuff, that as if we sell out of a cabin category or if we sell out of cabins, we can go back and get additional staterooms from Victory until the ship is full. Obviously, let's say we sell these out. I mean, the sailing's a year off. If we sell the 15 we have in the next couple of weeks, we had 130 people sign up for this register. I don't know how many people were actually interested in booking, but if we sell out those 15 cabins, we can go and get more. The only reason or time we couldn't get more is if the ship was sold out. So we're holding 15 staterooms that we've got, a reservation on, but we'd have to sell a lot of cabins in a hurry to have the whole ship. How many cabins are on the ships? They're kind of on the somewhat larger size, aren't they?
95 cabins.
95 cabins. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we've done signature groups that size before, but anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
it looks like 3 more questions. When can we find 2025 and 2026 cruise dates and pricing? Bob mentioned that the website is supposed to go live tomorrow. What we'll probably do is send the recording out tomorrow with a link to the website. So once the website goes live, we'll email everybody then. We'll include a little bit more information on the groups that we have, kind of a day-to-day itinerary and that kind of stuff, put more information together. So once the website goes live, I know 2025 will be there. Will 2026 be on the website as well when you open
Not
it?
yet. No, not yet. I mean, 26 will be, for all intents and purposes, the exact same as 25, except for some start and end dates will be different. But
Gotcha.
we don't plan on changing the itineraries. So yeah.
Okay. Well, so then at least tomorrow you can go online and see everything for 2025. And as I said, we're getting in very, very early. We're getting that, pre-open kind of discount, which is awesome. But yeah, part of that would be is they're trying to go live with 2025. And then some point down the road, they'll announce 2026. Okay, 2 more. Is the cruise ship accessible?
It is not ADA compliant. We have a couple of cabins. There's not a whole lot of thresholds, except for on the 4th deck. There's I would say, a 3-inch threshold getting out onto the deck in order to enter the cabins. But there is the thresholds in the rest of the vessel, maybe a 1/2 inch to an inch on in the showers. But we are not ADA compliant, but we do have some cabins that are wheelchair accessible.
Okay. And then walkers not going to be a problem, or scooters or anything
No.
like that. Do you know yet if you guys are set up to work with like special needs at sea or scoot around or company like that?
I would say we haven't in the past. That doesn't mean we won't in the future. I would say scooter's probably a challenge. I mean, certainly walkers are okay, but I would say a scooter would be a challenge. And it's it's a small vessel.
Yeah.
I mean, so just have to take that into
Okay.
account. I mean, we have elevators on board, obviously, so you can get to each one of the decks via elevator. But again, on deck 4, the thresholds are a little bit higher because we got to keep the water out.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's important, right? I know it's early on and you guys don't start sailing until 2025, but somebody asked about parking if you drive. And so obviously these are one-way cruises, right? We're either talking Toronto to Chicago or Chicago to Montreal. So I guess the thought would be is like I'll drive to Chicago and then sail to Montreal and then fly back to Chicago and grab my car. I'm very familiar with Chicago. I'm going there a week from today, but there is parking in the Navy Pier area, but parking downtown Chicago is expensive, particularly if you're looking to park for like 11 or 12 days. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, and I can't speak to parking in Toronto other than I can't imagine it's inexpensive to park in Toronto either. Bob, is there anything that you would?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I don't think I want to be parking in Navy Pier for, X number of days. It would be fairly expensive. What I would do is park out at O'Hare, because the reality of it is you're likely going to fly back from Toronto to O'Hare to get your car. So I think parking O'Hare, and I don't know what parking O'Hare is. I know parking at Dallas is $26 a day, and I think that's pretty reasonable compared to probably what
Yeah.
Chicago is. But that's where I would park. Toronto, I do the same thing as well. I mean, if you're gonna, well, yeah, if you're gonna do Toronto, then I'd park at the airport. There's a train that actually takes you right in the city. It's like a 25-minute train ride from the airport right into Toronto downtown area, right near the hotels. So that's what I would park at the airports.
There you go. Yeah, because I was going to say something similar. We've recommended something similar to somebody else. Find a place to park that's inexpensive, and then Uber there, because as we're talking about, for 12 days. Now, if you do a
Yeah.
pre-hotel, the hotels have parking as well, just to kind of cover all of our bases. But I can tell you that the hotels that when I've stayed downtown Chicago, they charge for valet parking as well, and it is not inexpensive. Like $55 a day.
Yeah.
So once again, you're in a situation where, 11 days, 12 days of parking, you're talking $600-700 in parking. You're much better to find an inexpensive place to park and Uber there or taxi there or something like that. So there you go. Okay, are gratuities included? It looks like it's the last question.
They are not. Everything is included but gratuities. So gratuities, we recommend $18.50 per day per person.
Okay. Are they pooled, or do they go directly to the person that you tip?
Well, if you pay it, well, they're pooled is
Okay,
the
there you go.
easy answer
That's
to that.
basically
Yes.
the thing
Yeah.
that you have
Yeah.
these days. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. I hope that answers your question, Richard. Does anybody else have any questions? It looks like we've covered everything. Once again, it's up on the screen. To be clear, for those of you who may not been on a webinar before, MOAA Vacations, we are the official travel agency of MOAA. I already kind of talked about kind of the things that make us unique, but I just want everybody to know that we book every cruise line, every cruise ship, every tour company. We are vacation specialists. So be it Great Lakes, which I hope everybody does the Great Lakes, or wherever your next vacation takes you, we certainly hope that you'll give us a call or drop us an email so we can show you kind of the MOAA difference. We have that MOAA exclusive amenity with 30 different vendors now. So that's just on top of the guaranteed lowest price. It is an additional amenity. Most cruises are going to be onboard credit. Most tour companies are going to be an additional $1 discount. But please give us a call. We want to be your travel agency of choice. Bob, on behalf of myself, everyone at MOAA Vacations and MOAA, and everyone who joined the webinar, want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Want to thank you for your multi-year partnership with MOAA and reaching out, back in May when you were first embarking on this new journey, and allowing us to be kind of part of the rollout. Because we kind of set up one or two of the first groups that Victory even set up on their ship. So came out to us early, we got in early, and it's a great opportunity for everybody. So Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you, the final word, but on behalf of everybody, once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yes, and thank you as well. I mean, I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate, John giving me the opportunity to speak with you. And I believe we've got a great product that you'd love to experience, that you'd love with the experience. And we look forward to welcoming you on board. And thank you. Have a great rest of the week and weekend.
Thanks, everyone. You'll get an email from me tomorrow with everything we talked about today, this recording, everything else. So have a great weekend and be on the lookout for that email tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.